Hey ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really hope that this video finds you well and I hope you're keeping safe and healthy. And in today's episode, I'm going to be going over 10 fragrances released in 2020 and I'm going to do my best to rank them from my least favorite to my favorite. So make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin the video, I just want to say that if you're a fan of this type of content, if you like fragrance reviews, top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, interviews with perfumers, creative directors, so on and so forth, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you got to do is click that red button in the corner, and this way, whenever I do upload future fragrance-related content, it'll get delivered straight to your feed, and also please make sure to enable notifications as well. So, before I begin this list, I do want to mention that there are a couple of disclaimers. The first one being that I've actually done a couple of videos like this in the past already, and when I say the past, I actually mean early 2020, just because I feel like as of February of 2020 there were already over a dozen fragrances released in the designer side, and so I wanted to create a video that would be helpful for the consumer if you're out there combing the industry and you're trying to find out which ones are good, which ones are not good. I wanted to sort of give you my 2 cents regarding that. And here we see that a ton more fragrances have been released in 2020 despite the quarantine. You know, these brands have probably had these fragrances in the pipeline to be released for a couple years, so there was really nothing that they could do about it. But thankfully, there are people like me in the world who will buy fragrances regardless of the quarantine, right? Even though, you know, people are wearing masks and they can have a hard time smelling you. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get onto the list. I do want to mention that some of these fragrances you've probably heard me discussing already in the past, but in the interest of making this a nice even number, a 10 list, I actually included some that I've spoken about in previous videos, but I know my top 2 favorites haven't changed and they're not in this list. And so if you've seen my previous videos, you probably know that I'm really fond of Beau de Jour by Tom Ford. And I also really like Giorgio Armani's Armani Code Absolute Gold Signature. So I actually still love both of those fragrances. That hasn't changed. And so those fragrances are not in this list, but yes, those are my 2 favorites of 2020. But let's go ahead and get into the list. So the first fragrance that I want to talk about is a fragrance that I think everybody saw coming. It's something that this brand does every single year, not just in terms of this particular fragrance, but also another classic fragrance of theirs called Eternity. You guys are familiar with this, you know this. And this is CK1 Summer. Now, this one I feel like is a little bit more, it kind of has like this lemony aspect about it. This is the 2020 release, obviously. Listen, it's creamy, it's citrusy, it's very fresh, it's very pleasant. It's a very likable fragrance, but at the end of the day, I feel like it doesn't do anything unique, it doesn't do anything original, it doesn't really capture my attention, and it doesn't wow me. And it was almost like the obligatory release. And I feel like after a while, what Calvin Klein can basically do is they can recycle some of their old summer formulas. I don't know if that is what they do, but I feel at this point, because they've released so many, like why make these subtle tweaks year after year? Just say, you know what, yeah, we purchased this in the past. Let's just bring it back for people who may have missed it in 2002 or something like that. I don't know. I'm sure they have their own mindset regarding this, but this I wasn't really a fan of. I think if you're in the market for something that smells fresh, smells pleasant, you're not going to offend anybody, and something that is definitely geared towards the summer, I think you're gonna get the job done with this fragrance. My personal opinion, I think there are other fragrances that will do a much better job for the price that you're paying. So yeah, CK1 Summer, I would rank this all the way at the bottom. The next fragrance in this list is one of the fragrances that I borrowed from my friend Carlos. Thank you, my good friend, for lending this to me. Otherwise, I don't think I would have purchased this one. Again, I'm not a fan of this fragrance. You know, it's just one of these things where, and I'm just gonna show you what it is, Chrome Extreme by Azzaro. Okay, so I think this one is a healthy enough deviation from the original Chrome, in the sense that if you sprayed this fragrance on, you're not gonna necessarily pick up on the fact that it's a chrome flanker. I do feel like it has this creaminess in there, this slight sweetness lurking underneath that kind of puts it in the wheelhouse of the typical men's designer fragrances that we've seen released over the past few years. But I feel like in terms of bettering the performance, bettering the longevity. Yes, they've done that with this fragrance. I do feel like they've done that in comparison to the original Chrome, which I'm sure has been reformulated a couple times already. But in terms of putting out an extreme version or an extreme modification of an original formula, they haven't really done that with this fragrance. What they've really done is they've modernized the fragrance, which I've actually found to be quite modern in and of itself, because the original Chrome just smells like rather fresh, and some people say it smells like dryer sheets and stuff like that. So they've taken that formula and they've modernized it, but what they've really done is they brought it closer to smelling like one of the typical mass marketed designer men's fragrances that have been released over the past few years. So again, I don't think it's very unique. I don't think it's very original, but again, it's pleasant. All of these fragrances in this list smell pleasant. None of them are going to really push any boundaries or any envelopes. So I think no matter which fragrance from this list you go with, I think you're gonna smell pleasant, but as far as it caters to my personal taste, I think so much more could have been done with this. The next one on this list is Calvin Klein's CK Everyone. So again, very nice, smooth, polished citrus fragrance. Again, I don't think this one does anything unique or innovative or original. I think that with this fragrance especially, it's along the lines of like a CK2, I think, or God, what is the one that was shaped like a water cooler? But it's like, whenever Calvin Klein does release one of these gender neutral fragrances, at least do what Gucci did with Memoire d'une Odeur, right? You enlist Alberto Morillas' help. He has this really interesting, although I wasn't a fan of it, but really interesting chamomile based fragrance. At least try something different. Here, it's really just this nondescript, kind of bland fragrance that doesn't really go in any which direction. And I think that kind of upset me a little bit, that I think it had promise. There was so much more that could have been done with it, but unfortunately, I'm not a fan of it. But I do find it to be perfectly unisex. So if that's what they were going for, I think they hit the nail on the head. The next fragrance in this list is one that I didn't really have high hopes for, I'll be honest with you. I just looking at the color of the liquid and looking at the bottle itself, there was that sliver of a thought where I was like, okay, I can kind of see this going in a slightly interesting direction. And then when I finally had the bottle in my possession and I smelled it for the first time, I said, oh, okay, this is what we're working with here. And it kind of defied all of my expectations, if you will. So this is Azzaro's Wanted Tonic. And this fragrance, so here's the thing, right? It's kind of in the middle of the list. It's not all the way at the end. It's not all the way at the top. It smells pleasant. You're gonna get decent longevity for what it's worth, but I think it smells way too similar to L'Eau de Ses Pour Homme by Issey Miyake. Now, when you take a look at the note breakdown, it's gonna be a very, very different note breakdown. It smells fresh. It smells pleasant. You will probably even get a compliment or two when you're wearing this. It's very easy to pull off, but I don't find it to be very original. And I think that for the price that you're paying for this, I wouldn't pay full retail for this fragrance. If it were something closer to like 35, 40 bucks and you found it online at one of the discounters, I would say go for it, right? Perfect for the hotter weather. But if you're gonna pay full retail on this and it's really just something that's a slight tweak of L'Eau de Ses Pour Homme by Issey Miyake, I would say that your money is best spent somewhere else. So it's just my opinion. You know, I don't think it's a bad fragrance by any stretch of the imagination. I just think that for a flanker of the Azzaro Chrome lineup, I'm sorry, not Chrome, of the Azzaro Wanted lineup, I think that one, it doesn't smell anything like Wanted, right? Which has a very distinct smell to it, and especially Wanted by Night, which is such an amazing flanker, right? Wanted by Night is so good, right? And all of the people that I've had try it corroborate what I'm feeling and what I'm saying about it. So this one just fell a little short of my expectations. So the next one, I actually do appreciate for the uniqueness of it, and this one is Alien Man Mirage. Now, I reviewed this, and I also have Alien Man, which I've done a video on, and I know there have already been a couple of flankers, if I'm not mistaken, but this one I actually like more than the original Alien Man. The original Alien Man has this note of dillweed in it, which I find makes it unique, and it actually does kind of make it alien, right? Or something that is different from what everybody else is doing. So I have a lot of respect for that. But in the case of this one, I do feel like they made it a little bit more strange. Yes, they added this almost Invictus Aqua-ish thing going on in the base. So to make it a little bit more likable. So I kind of like the direction that they're going in, even though it does almost make it head in an expected direction. But at the same time, I like how they still retain that oddity from the original. And so I actually really do enjoy this one. I'm really hoping that they put out something that's a little bit darker, a little bit more challenging, maybe something along the lines of Amen by Thierry Mugler. Of course, I don't want another Amen, right? Amen already exists, but I really do think that this has the potential to push the boundaries even a little bit further to create something unique with Promise, and I'm looking forward to that. So the next one I ranked in the top 5 just because of the fact that it always draws compliments, it always pulls in compliments. My wife loves this one. Initially, I was a little skeptical about it just because it has this salt and vinegar accord to it. No, it doesn't smell like a bag of Lay's. This one is Gucci Guilty Eau de Parfum. So if you're familiar with the Gucci Guilty lineup and you want something that's a little bit darker, a little bit spicier, definitely check this one out. I feel like that salt and vinegar accord really doesn't do it justice. If anything, it actually might turn a few people off, right? Because nobody wants to smell like a bag of chips, but that's not what you're getting in this fragrance. Although I can see how that accord is utilized in here, like there might be this slight saltiness, but then you have fragrances that contain ambergris, or you have fragrances that contain an ozonic accord, right? And it still kind of smells, it makes it smell salty, but this one is actually kind of well done, right? I actually will enjoy wearing this one a little bit more. And the counterpart to this is Gucci Guilty Black, which to this day remains one of my most complimented fragrances ever. And so if you know that that collection has the ability to rake in compliments the way that it does, this one is really just an extension of that. So it's not like you're trying something totally different, and this is a true flanker in the sense that, yeah, it actually does remind me of the other Gucci Guilty fragrances. So the next one here is Dolce Gabbana's The One Eau de Parfum Intense. Awesome fragrance. I really enjoyed this one. I suppose the one thing that maybe turned me off a little bit about this one is that it was a really strong deviation from the original and the Eau de Parfum. And perhaps the reason why I was a little upset by that is because I was actually wearing Dolce Gabbana's The One, the EDT version, when I proposed to my wife. And so that holds a lot of sentimental value. And so I suppose what I was expecting with this was something to be still along the lines of the original. I wasn't looking for a carbon copy because then what's the point of a flanker, right? But I was looking for something that is perhaps a mild tweak, but also a little bit stronger from the original Eau de Toilette. And instead, what I ended up getting was something that was quite different, almost different enough that it could be its own fragrance. And I suppose that that's probably something that initially guided me in a direction other than the one that I wanted to be on. But all in all, I think it is a very good fragrance. And if you have a chance to try it out and smell it, please do. Number 3 on this list is one that I still prefer another flanker of it over this one, but I do think it's a good fragrance nonetheless. And this one by Giorgio Armani is called Acqua di Gio Profondo. Now, this one has this note of mastic oil or lentisque in there that I don't really get, I gotta be honest with you. But it's fresh, it rakes in the compliments. I think this is the type of fragrance where if you're just looking for a quote unquote dumb reach, a fragrance to wear whenever, no matter the occasion, but also something that is geared towards the hotter weather, I think you'll have a lot of luck with Profondo. My opinion, I still prefer Profumo. Profumo has this really nice incensey feel about it. It's a little more dark, mysterious, kind of has like this bad boy edge to it. This is almost like, let's take the original Acqua di Gio, which is kind of citrusy and floral, and let's make it a little brighter. That's how I feel this fragrance, or that's the direction at least that I think this fragrance goes in. All in all, a good direction. I enjoy it. I just personally feel like I still prefer Profumo. The next one on this list is Pacha de Cartier Parfum. This fragrance is awesome. This fragrance actually caught me by surprise. I actually also have the original Pacha de Cartier, which of course has this sort of, I guess some people would say like an old world feel about it, right? It's very elegant, it's very mature. I'm not gonna say it smells dated because I can still see a very polished, very refined gentleman of 2020 wearing the original Pasha and pulling it off. This one, on the other hand, has an added warmth to it. And it also has an inclusion of a few spices that are not found in the original. This is awesome. This is an awesome, awesome fragrance. If you have a chance to smell this, I would say definitely check this out, especially if you're looking, and you know what, another thing too, if you can wait a little bit until this fragrance becomes discounted, I think that would be the best time to pull it off, or the best time to purchase it, I should say. Just because I feel like if you're gonna run to Macy's or something like that, you're gonna end up paying full retail for it. I think, I know myself personally, I'd feel a lot better about it if I wait a couple of months and I end up buying it for like $30 or $40 off the MSRP tag. But anyways, this fragrance is awesome. If you have a chance to watch a few other reviews on it, please do. I've watched a couple of other YouTubers review it, and I really agree with what they have to say about it. So, the number one fragrance in this list, I hope you guys agree with me. I actually really enjoy wearing this one. My wife has even taken it from me and she's been wearing it as well. And I just love the smell of it. You know, I know it's not the most groundbreaking fragrance, but I really enjoyed this one. And yeah, it's bright, it's fresh, it's fruity, it has a natural smell in the opening, really good utilization of those fruits and the citrus that's in there. And then in the base, you also have this sweet dry down that I really like. And this one is by Dolce Gabbana, and it's called Light Blue, Love is Love. This fragrance is awesome. This fragrance is really good. I love the opening. It smells, yes, it does smell like light blue intense for women. Completely agree. It does smell very similar to that fragrance. But if you're looking for something that is so easy to wear, a compliment getter, totally unisex, something that has such an addictive opening with the fruits that are in there, honestly, I feel like Dolce Gabbana, Light Blue for him, the flankers, they have been doing it right for the past couple of years. Even last year's flanker, which is Sun, I love it, right? It has this creamy sort of tropical coconut suntan lotion feel about it, a little salty as well. In previous years with Italian zest and blah, 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 I'm not a fan of those flankers, but I am a fan of this flanker. I love this flanker, and I really feel like they did a fantastic job with it. And yeah, given the chance, unless we're talking about a formal occasion, I would probably pick Pasha de Cartier Parfum. But if we're just talking about a fragrance just to wear in the summertime that is just really bright, uplifting, addictive smell, compliment getting, and one that I can see myself wearing very comfortably, and I always feel like I made the right choice when I put it on. Dolce Gabbana Light Blue, Love is Love. Wonderful fragrance, and I hope you agree, but even if you don't, hey, it's cool. Fragrance is subjective. I know we all have our own tastes and our own proclivities when it comes to fragrance. So I do want to thank you again so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this top 10 list. These have been my top 10 designer fragrances released in 2020, ranked from my least favorite to my favorite. And of course, like I said from my previous videos, I've also spoken about Tom Ford's Beau de Jour and Giorgio Armani's Armani Code Absolute Gold Signature, quite a long name. I actually love those two, and those two would actually be my favorites, I would say, for 2020. But if we had to introduce some new fragrances that I haven't covered before on this channel in a top list, well, here you go. So thank you so much for watching. Once again, I hope this video found you well. If you took something of value from this video, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click that red button in the corner, and this way, whenever I do upload future fragrance-related content, it'll get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future uploads. Thanks again for watching. I hope this video finds you well. Love you guys, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.